Today we're working on yet another donation project. This PS2 Slim was sent in by James. Thank you, James. And it's a really nice unit. It's in fairly good overall condition. It's definitely quite dirty and it's going to need a good cleaning. We have a dislodged memory door. I don't think that it's broken, but you can see how it's kind of popped off its hinge there. So we'll definitely take a look at that. The optical drive area is where it really becomes apparent just how dirty this console is. And hopefully this laser still works. I believe this should be a working console. I don't know if that's the case, but we'll find out. The model number on this guy is 79001. This is a later revision PS2 Slim. So it's a very cool version of the PS2 Slim, but it's definitely not rare. You'll find a lot of listings for this variant of the PS2 Slim on sites like eBay advertised as a rare console. And while it is indeed less common, it is not particularly rare. So I have a PS2 game and the rest of my accessories ready to go. I'm going to hook this guy up and let's see what we get on the TV. Let's turn the TV on, and I'm connected to power over here, so I have a solid red LED, which is good. And let's first just power it on without anything else connected. The fan was a little bit noisy there, and that's probably just because it's dirty. And let's see how it reads this game. And the game started up. Awesome. And controls are actually working just fine. Alright guys, so we have a working PS2 Slim. I'm actually pretty impressed at how well the laser read the game. Now, if you're picking up one of these for yourself, always make sure to check it with a PlayStation 1 disc as well. That's going to be another data point as to how well the optical drive is still working. In terms of the restoration today, we really have three goals. We want to repair this memory card door. Hopefully it's not broken, it's just popped out from its latch. We need to swap out the save battery. The system's going on about 15 years at this point, so we'll pop a new save battery in there, and we're going to clean out that fan. It was a little bit noisy on boot, and I think the whole system can really benefit from a good cleaning. So we'll get this guy looking and working like new. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm obviously not going to be broken up about damaging the warranty seal. It's just for preservation, but it's really nice that you still find old consoles like this that have never been opened or serviced before. So we'll do our best to keep it. All right, and that actually came off fairly clean. We should definitely be able to reapply that. We have 6 screws in the back, 2 hiding underneath the rubber legs. Ooh. All right, let's flip this guy over. And here you can really tell, by the way, what the original color of the case is supposed to look like. That's quite the difference, right? So we'll see how close to this we can get once we clean this guy up. Now the top cover should just pop right off. Might need just a little bit of persuasion. Let's see. Okay. All right. Wow. Holy cow. It's pretty amazing that this optical drive was working, right? That is definitely going to require a thorough cleaning. Now, unfortunately with this memory card door, it does look like that the post where it clicks into place is broken, just snapped off clean. It's supposed to look something like that. So if we slide this guy back into place, there's nothing over here that stops it from just popping right back out. So we'll see if we find that small broken piece. Maybe it's still somewhere inside the console and we can epoxy it back on, but I'm not holding out hope. All right, let's continue taking things apart. Just set that aside. So I just want to slide this pickup down a little bit. There we go. So what we want to do is release the latch on the back side. Then we can grab this guy and just slide it out. Okay. Now, same thing with these two cables right here. That's one. That's two. And we should be able to remove the optical drive completely. Okay. And we should be able to just pull this right out. That is one nasty fan. Amazing. Okay, let's keep taking out screws. So I see another 3 screws holding down this shield. And the board is free. All right, let's try and get this shield removed. And the shield is free. We'll definitely give this guy a bath with the case as well. Let's go ahead and get this battery out. Okay. All right, guys, I think case is heading over to the sink and the board, optical drive, and the fan going downstairs to the garage so that we can blow them with some compressed air. We are back in the game room. The board's been dusted off and the shell has had a chance to dry off. So everything came out looking really nice. The shell looks really good. And I want to shift my attention to the memory door flap. If we look at the memory door that's working, so what stops it from popping out of its place is this post on the top case, this thing that looks like an L from the top. And the lower part of this L right here, that's flush with the top of that memory door post, this little cylinder right here. If we move over and look at the one that's broken, we can see that there's material missing from this post right here. It's just snapped clean off. And that material is critical to preventing this door from falling out. So right now, with even the slightest pressure, there's just nothing anchoring it from this corner. So what we need to do is build this material back up until it reaches a height that is level with the top of this cylinder right here, so that it can no longer pop out once the two halves of the shell are together. I've been staring at this thing for a while now, wondering what the best way to go about this is, and I've decided to go with epoxy putty. This is plastic weld putty, and you guys have seen me use plastic weld epoxy. It's my favorite epoxy to use for repairing broken plastic. This is the putty version. If I had found that piece that broke off, I would have just used plastic epoxy and it would have been a super solid repair. But given we have to build the material back up, I'm gonna build it up with putty. The one minor downside to using this is the cure time. This is about a 3-hour cure time, so that's gonna slow this project down just a little bit, but I think that's gonna help us get the best repair possible given what we're working with here. I got a little bit of water in case I need it. Having worked with this stuff before, sometimes it helps if you can just keep your fingers a little bit wet if you're trying to get it into a very specific shape. So we'll see if we need that. And I'm gonna have to knead this together for a minute or two to activate the epoxy. All right, let me just discard this piece at the top. Okay. All right, time to start kneading. All right, I think that should do it. All right, with these things you kind of have to know when to stop, and I think that's looking pretty good. So I think I'm gonna pause here. All right guys, let me show you what we have here. So you guys can see the repair area right here. So this will be a little bit more clear when it goes back together, but essentially when that post rests over here, now there's something for it to bump up against, and it should not fall out. So now it's just a waiting game. It's a 30-minute set time and a 3-hour cure time. So I'll work on something else in the meantime, but I'm just gonna set that aside to fully cure and do its thing. Fan cleaned up really well. Now we can also lubricate the shaft by removing the sticker on the back here. Let's get some lithium grease in there. And we'll just stick that back on. Perfect. And while we're at it, since we have to wait for the epoxy to cure, let's just go ahead and do the optical drive. Just clean up some of that old grease first. And let's get some new lithium grease on here. And fresh, clean cotton swab. And we'll just very gently wipe the laser. That's all there is to it. I am going to swap out the saved battery, but I'm just curious what the old one's reading. These batteries are rated for 3 volts, and a new one usually reads about 3.3. 2.6. Yeah, definitely needs replacing. And I'm getting about 3.3 volts. I broke the battery holder. I just realized this thing wasn't sitting in the holder properly, and I was kind of scratching my head, and then I noticed these 2 little pieces of metal on the bench. Oh, you stupid guy. So that's where they broke off from, right here and right here. When I was installing the battery, I should have pushed this back much further. Well, we're gonna have to swap the battery holder. It's broken. The one quick thing I'm gonna try is folding this flap that's currently facing up to face down instead. There's a good chance it's gonna snap off, but it's the only thing I can think to try short of just swapping out the connector. So if I can fold this down without it breaking off and it holds the battery in place, we might get away with not swapping this connector out. Let's give that a shot and see what happens. And it's already breaking off. All right, well, it was worth a shot. Let's go ahead and remove this connector. All right, guys, I'm all set up. Let's see how this is gonna go. Now, the question is this battery holder that I have too small to fit? And yeah, that's not really gonna reach. Not without using a jump wire or something. I'm gonna take a quick look at the donor PS2 Slim that I have and see if we can salvage the battery connector from that. So I have a junk PS2 Slim here. This was sent to me by Jason. It's a water damaged unit. Some parts have been salvaged and it just sort of arrived like this. It is a different model though. This is an earlier revision. And I've worked on these before, and I think it has a different style battery altogether. Let's just take a quick look, although I'm not very optimistic that this is going to work out. So there's only one screw holding this whole thing together. Yeah, this is not going to work. So these style PS2s have a battery that clips into here, and there's a cable to these two terminals that plug in here. So there's nothing for me to salvage from this unit, at least not for this project. All right, guys, we're gonna have to make the connectors I have work, so let's just try our best. All right, guys, considering the situation, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I'm not gonna go crazy and stress test it more than I need to, but that feels super solid to me. Let's do this. So first thing to go back in is the battery. Just for the sake of being thorough, I'm going to do a quick voltage check across the terminals. So red up top, black on the bottom, and we should get the 3 volts. 3.2. Next to go on is the heatsink. And the heatsink just kind of anchors in this little corner diamond over here and then twists into position. Make sure that clicks in there. Nice. Let's grab the bottom case. Slide this guy in. Let's quickly wipe off any fingerprints. Let's get that fan on there. All right, let's get the optical drive ready. So this cable is just going to go in like that. Make sure it's all the way in there, and then just press it into place. That's it. All right, now getting the drive in there, let's just pivot it on the back posts, just like that. We'll slide that back ribbon cable underneath its groove, and we'll slide this cable underneath the 2 grooves on this side. There's 1, and there's 2. This guy's next. And this last cable for the optical drive. Now, before I install the on-off switch, there's 2 places that I want to spray some contact cleaner. The first of these is the door sensor on the main board, and that's this guy right here. And the second is the door sensor on the switch itself, and that's this little micro switch right here. Anytime you're refurbishing a PS2 Slim, don't skip this step. Make sure you get some contact cleaner, or at the very minimum some IPA, in both of these micro switches, the one that's on the on-off switch and the one that's on the main board. The system needs both of them working properly to know when the drive door is closed. So if you have a system where it just refuses to spin up the disk and you think it's a bad drive, clean out these 2 micro switches first. More than likely, that's what's causing your issue. All right, let's slide this guy in and attach the ribbon cable. There is our fully cured epoxy. Now let's reattach the spring. All right, let's see how well that slides in there. Okay, let's give this guy a little test. Nice. That's what it looks like from the inside. Okay, let's marry the 2 halves. Now, before we install the screw covers or the warranty seal, let's go ahead and hook this guy up and test it out. All right, I've set the system time, so let's power this guy down, unplug it from power. All right, let's plug this guy back in. And date and time are still set, so the clock battery is working good. And the game's starting up. Fantastic. All right, let's quickly wrap this up. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with that. All right, guys, this brings us to the end of the restoration on this white PS2 Slim. We repaired the broken memory card door. We completely cleaned the system out, re-lubricated the drive, and we swapped out the internal clock battery. I think cleaning one of these out is a lazy afternoon project. This one turned into a bit of an ordeal because of my hiccup with the battery connector, but there's no point wallowing. I figured out a solution and the system's working just fine. So hopefully now that you've seen what can go wrong with the clock battery, you'll avoid running into the same mistake. This project's a good example of why you need to clean your systems out, especially ones that have a cooling fan and collect a lot of dust. When we tested the system out at the very beginning, it actually booted up super quick. You would think this was a really clean system, but you guys saw what it looked like on the inside. And that certainly can't be good for the thermals or the longevity of the system. So when you get into this hobby and you start restoring these consoles, make sure you also pay attention to the ones that seemingly work, but could also use a little bit of love and attention as well. Thank you very much for coming along for this restoration, guys, and I will see you again soon.